1 year had passed since Earth closed its borders. The galaxy had changed in ways that nobody could have predicted. What had once been a community of hundreds of species working together had become a collection of nervous neighbors, all trying to avoid making the same mistakes that had awakened humanity's anger. Captain Oseho stood on the bridge of the UES Guardian, the newest ship assigned to border patrol duty. Through the main view screen, he could see the permanent alien flotilla that had established itself just outside human space. 47 ships from 16 different species maintained a constant vigil, like merchants waiting outside a closed shop. His communications officer, Lieutenant Bayu Jin, approached with the daily reports. "Sir, we have received 132 requests for entry today. Most are the usual trade proposals and diplomatic overtures, but 3 are different." "How so?" 3 small species, the Kalari, the Nethics, and the Yupan, are formally requesting human protection. They say larger species are threatening them now that the old galactic order has broken down. Captain Oseho was not surprised. With humanity no longer participating in galactic politics, the balance of power had shifted dramatically. Stronger species were taking advantage of weaker ones, knowing that there was no longer a neutral arbiter to stop them. "Standard response," he ordered. "We will consider their requests, but they must first demonstrate their commitment to peaceful coexistence and respect for human sovereignty." This was the new reality. Earth still helped those who truly needed it, but only on humanity's terms. The days of alien species taking human generosity for granted were over. On Earth, Dr. Bae Hyunwoo sat in his office overlooking the rebuilt Research Station Alpha. As Director of Xenological Studies, he was responsible for deciding which alien contact request to approve. His desk was covered with formal applications from species wanting to resume scientific cooperation with humanity. Today's review included a proposal from the Henkai Science Council. They wanted to share research about stellar formation in exchange for access to human quantum physics data. The Henkai had always been respectful partners, so Dr. Bae marked their application for approval. Next was a request from the Vraxian Academy. They offered rare mineral samples in exchange for human medical technology. Dr. Bae marked this one for rejection. The Vraxians had spent 50 years treating human space like their personal mining territory. They would need to do much more than offer gifts to rebuild trust. The third application came from a species he had never heard of, the Korthani from the far galactic rim. They claimed to have valuable information about ancient alien artifacts and wanted to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. Dr. Bae made a note to have intelligence services investigate this species before making any decision. Humanity had learned to be very careful about who they trusted. His work was interrupted by a call from President Choi Yuna's office. The president's secretary, Ms. Park So-young, appeared on his communication screen. "Dr. Bae, the president would like to see you for the annual review meeting." "Can you come to the Capitol today?" "Of course." "What time?" 2 o'clock. "And Dr. Bae, please bring the quarterly statistics. The president wants to discuss them with the full cabinet." An hour later, Dr. Bae was sitting in the familiar conference room beneath the Capitol building. Around the table were the same faces he had worked with for the past year: President Choi Yuna, Admiral Kim Tai-ho, Dr. Shin Yeon-soo, and the other key leaders who had guided humanity through its transformation. "Dr. Bae," President Choi began, "please give us your assessment of the current situation with alien contact requests." Dr. Bae pulled up his holographic display, showing the statistics. "Madam President, we have received over 50,000 formal requests for renewed contact in the past year. We have approved exactly 407, less than 1%. What kinds of requests are we approving? Primarily humanitarian aid, scientific cooperation with species that have historically treated us with respect, and limited trade with civilizations that offer genuine value in exchange. We have completely cut off contact with the major powers that violated our sovereignty." Admiral Kim Tai-ho leaned forward. "What about military threats? Are we still seeing hostile activity near our borders?" "The Grand Alliance against us collapsed 6 months ago," Dr. Bae reported. "The Keth Imperium withdrew from all military agreements with other species. The Vraxians are focused on internal economic problems caused by losing access to human space. The Zelthrans are dealing with political upheaval as their government faces criticism for provoking us." Dr. Shin Yeon-soo smiled quietly. "It seems our demonstration was effective," President Choi nodded, but her expression was thoughtful rather than triumphant. Dr. Bay, how has the galaxy changed since we closed our borders? Dr. Bay pulled up another display showing trade route maps and political boundaries. Madam President, the effects have been dramatic. Economic growth has slowed significantly for most species because they can no longer use our space for efficient transportation. Several smaller wars have broken out as stronger species try to dominate weaker ones without human intervention. The Galactic Council has lost much of its authority because its decisions lack any enforcement mechanism. Are we causing suffering by maintaining our isolation? This was the question that had troubled many humans over the past year. By withdrawing from galactic affairs, Earth had created a power vacuum that was being filled by less benevolent forces. Dr. Shin Yan-su spoke first. Madam President, we are not responsible for the galaxy's problems. We spent 50 years trying to be peacekeepers and mediators, and we were treated like servants for our efforts. If other species cannot maintain order without our help, that is their failure, not ours. Defense Secretary Park Hyun-woo agreed. We warned them repeatedly about the consequences of disrespecting our sovereignty. They chose to ignore those warnings. Now they are learning that actions have consequences. But Dr. Bay had a different perspective. With respect, I believe we should consider selective intervention in cases of genuine humanitarian crisis. We have the power to stop injustices that are causing massive suffering. Should we not use that power responsibly? President Choi was quiet for several minutes, considering all perspectives. Finally, she made her decision. Dr. Bay, prepare a new protocol. We will consider providing humanitarian assistance in cases of genocide, planetary disasters, or other extreme crises, but such assistance will come with strict conditions. Recipients must formally acknowledge human sovereignty, accept our oversight of the aid distribution, and commit to peaceful behavior toward their neighbors. She turned to Admiral Kim. Admiral, I want you to establish a small intervention fleet. Nothing that could be seen as aggressive, but enough to deliver aid and protect our personnel. Yes, Madam President. Dr. Shin, I want you to develop non-lethal versions of our advanced technologies, weapons that can stop conflicts without causing mass casualties. Dr. Shin nodded. I have been working on such systems already. We can pacify hostile forces without destroying them. 6 months later, the galaxy received its first demonstration of humanity's new selective intervention policy. The Kalari homeworld was under attack by Keth raiders who were trying to enslave the population. The Kalari government had formally requested human protection under the new protocol. Captain Nam Dong-wook of the UES Mercy arrived in the Kalari system with a small humanitarian fleet. The Keth raiders had over 50 warships and had already devastated 2 Kalari cities. Keth vessels, Captain Nam broadcast on all frequencies. You are attacking a species under human protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Keth commander, thinking he was dealing with a small human force, refused to retreat. We do not recognize human authority outside your borders, he replied. Captain Nam activated Dr. Shin's new pacification systems. Within minutes, every Keth ship was disabled but intact. Their crews were unharmed but helpless. Human medical ships immediately began treating wounded Kalari civilians while human engineers helped repair the damaged cities. The Keth crews were released after 48 hours with a clear message. Species under human protection would remain protected. Word of the intervention spread quickly through the galaxy. Humanity was no longer completely isolationist, but they were also not returning to their old role as galaxy-wide peacekeepers. They would help those who asked respectfully and honestly, but they would ignore those who continued to show disrespect. President Choi Yuna stood in her office, looking out at the lights of Geneva. 1 year ago, she had made the hardest decision of her presidency, closing Earth's borders and risking war with the entire galaxy. Now, as she reviewed reports of successful humanitarian missions and growing respect for human sovereignty, she knew it had been the right choice. Her aide, Secretary Park So-young, brought her the daily summary of alien contact requests. The number had dropped significantly as species learned that only genuine, respectful proposals would be considered. Madam President, Secretary Park said, there is one request that might interest you. The Galactic Council has formally asked for human observers to attend their sessions. They want our advice on maintaining peace between species. 6 months had passed since humanity closed its borders. The galaxy was slowly adapting to a new reality. But the adaptation was painful and expensive. Trade routes that had flowed through human space for decades now had to take long detours around the 50-light-year exclusion zone. Ships that once made the journey from the galactic core to the outer rim in weeks now needed months. Fleet Admiral Zhang Qite stood on the observation deck of the UES Sovereign, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see the edge of human space. There, like a line of beggars, sat dozens of alien vessels waiting for permission to enter. Every day more ships arrived. Some carried ambassadors hoping to negotiate new treaties. Others brought trade goods hoping that Earth might be willing to resume limited commerce. A few carried refugees from species that had been attacked by others and now sought human protection. Most were turned away. Captain Oseho of the Border Patrol vessel Sentinel approached the Admiral with his daily report. Sir, we have 43 ships requesting entry today. 12 Aquilian trade vessels, 8 Vraxian diplomatic ships, 15 Henkai refugee transports, 5 Zelthron research vessels, and 3 ships from species we have never encountered before. Recommendations? Admiral Zhang asked. The Henkai refugees claim they are fleeing persecution by the Keth Imperium. Their ship shows signs of battle damage and our scans detect wounded aboard. I recommend we allow them entry for medical treatment, then escort them to a safe system outside our borders. Admiral Zhang nodded. The Henkai were a peaceful species that had always treated humans with respect. They were one of the few alien peoples that Earth still considered friends. Approved. What about the others? The Aquilians are offering rare minerals in exchange for passage rights through our space. The Vraxians want to negotiate a new trade agreement. The Zelthrans claim they have important scientific information to share with us. Denied, denied, and denied, Admiral Zhang said without hesitation. Standard response. Earth's borders remain closed to all except those we specifically invite. Captain Oseho sent the responses and continued his report. Sir, we are also detecting increased military activity near our borders. Long-range sensors show at least 6 different species have moved fleets into positions just outside our space. Admiral Zhang was not surprised. Fear and desperation were making some alien governments consider options they would normally reject. Any signs of aggressive intent? Not yet, sir. But the fleets are getting larger every week. Intelligence suggests some species are forming military alliances specifically to deal with the human problem. On Earth, President Choi Yuna was meeting with her cabinet in the secure conference room beneath the Capitol building. Dr. Shin Yeon-soo was presenting her latest intelligence reports. Madam President, we are tracking the formation of what appears to be a grand alliance against us, Dr. Shin said. The Keth Imperium, Vraxian Trade Federation, and Zelthron Republic have signed a mutual defense pact. They are being joined by smaller species who fear our growing influence. Defense Secretary Park Hyun-woo looked concerned. How many ships are we talking about, Doctor? Current estimates suggest they could field over 5,000 warships if they combine their fleets. That is more military power than has ever been assembled in galactic history. President Choi was quiet for a moment, then asked, Dr. Shin, if they attack us with everything they have, can we defend ourselves? Dr. Shin smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. Madam President, if they attack us with everything they have, there will not be enough left of their civilizations to rebuild. But I hope it does not come to that. What do you mean? Dr. Shin activated a holographic display showing a device that looked like a simple metal cube. We have completed work on the pacification protocol. If deployed, it would disable every non-human computer system, weapon, and spacecraft within a radius of 500 light-years. Their ships would become floating metal coffins. Their cities would go dark. Their entire technological civilization would shut down. The room fell silent. Even President Choi, who had authorized the development of Earth's most advanced weapons, was shocked by the scope of this capability. The effect would be temporary, Dr. Shin continued. Systems would restart after 72 hours, but in that time their military forces would be completely helpless. It would end any war before it could truly begin. Foreign Secretary Kim Min-jun spoke up. Doctor, a weapon like that could be seen as an act of total war against galactic civilization itself. Using it might make us enemies of every species in the galaxy. True, Dr. Shin agreed. That is why I recommend we demonstrate it on a smaller scale first, show them what we are capable of, and give them a chance to reconsider their hostile intentions. President Choi thought about this for several minutes. Finally, she made her decision. Dr. Shin, select a target for demonstration, something that will make our point clear without causing unnecessary suffering. 3 days later, the Keith Second Fleet was conducting training exercises near their border with human space. War Marshal Dexalon had replaced the disgraced Vexilon and was determined to restore Keth military honor. His fleet of 300 ships was practicing attack formations that could be used against human positions. Admiral Kim Tae-ho was watching from the UES Defiance, hidden just outside the training area. He had been ordered to observe and record the Keth exercises, but also to deliver a message. "Captain Park," he said to his communications officer, "open a channel to the Keth flagship." War Marshal Dexalon was surprised to receive a transmission from humans. He appeared on the main screen of his bridge wearing the elaborate armor of a Keth warrior. "Human Admiral," he said with obvious contempt, "you are outside your borders. What do you want?" "I want to give you a demonstration," Kim Tae-ho replied calmly. "Your fleet is practicing to attack us. We want to show you why that would be a mistake." Dexalon laughed. "Your ships are outnumbered 300 to 1. What can you possibly demonstrate?" Kim Tae-ho smiled. "Watch and learn." He gave a signal to Dr. Shin Yeon-soo, who was monitoring from Earth. She activated a small version of the pacification protocol, targeted specifically at the Keth fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the Keth ships began to go dark. Their engines shut down. Their weapons powered off. Their communications went silent. Within minutes, 300 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy were floating helplessly in space. War Marshal Dexalon found himself standing in the dark on his own bridge. Emergency lighting flickered on, but nothing else worked. No computers, no weapons, no engines, no communications. Kim Tae-ho's voice came through the fleet's emergency communication system, which still worked because it used simple radio technology. "War Marshal, your ships will return to normal function in exactly 1 hour. Consider this a gentle reminder of what we are capable of. If you attack us, the next demonstration will not be so limited." The Keth fleet drifted in space for 60 minutes, completely helpless. If the humans had wanted to destroy them, it would have been easy. Instead, exactly 1 hour later, all systems came back online simultaneously. Dexalon immediately ordered his fleet to retreat to Keth space. He had gotten the message loud and clear. Word of the demonstration spread quickly through alien military channels. The humans had not just shown superior firepower, they had shown the ability to shut down any technology they chose. The implications were terrifying. On the Vraxian homeworld, Trade Federation Director Malaktor called an emergency meeting of the Alliance leaders. "We need to reconsider our plans," he said. "If humans can disable our fleets at will, military action is pointless." Emperor Kethvar, participating by hologram from his throne room, was even more direct. "The humans have made their point. They want to be left alone. Perhaps we should leave them alone." But Zelthran President Vorthek was not ready to give up. "If we surrender now, humans will think they can dictate terms to the entire galaxy. We need to find a way to neutralize their advantages." The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was becoming clear. The alien alliance was fracturing before it had even been tested in battle. Fear of human capabilities was stronger than their desire for revenge. Back on Earth, President Choi Yuna received reports of the demonstration's success. The galaxy was finally beginning to understand that humanity's warnings were not empty threats. "Admiral Kim," she said during their evening briefing, "how long do you think it will be before they accept our terms?" "I believe we are very close, Madam President. Fear is a powerful teacher, and we have given them a very effective lesson." President Choi nodded, but she felt no joy in the victory. She had wanted peace, not domination. But sometimes, she reflected, you had to show your strength before others would respect your desire for peace. The galaxy was learning that lesson, one demonstration at a time. The galaxy was in chaos. News of humanity's overwhelming victory spread faster than light itself, carried by the few alien survivors who had been allowed to escape. On every major world, emergency meetings were called. Military leaders who had laughed at Earth's ultimatum now faced the terrible reality of what they had underestimated. On the Vraxian homeworld, Trade Federation Director Malaktor stared at the holographic display showing the destruction of their mining fleet. 23 ships gone in minutes. Ships that had cost billions of credits and taken years to build, destroyed by humans who appeared out of nowhere. How is this possible? He asked his chief military advisor. Our intelligence report said humans had primitive technology. Where did these weapons come from? General Vraktar, who had survived the battle near Pluto, was still shaking from the experience. Director, they were not using any technology we recognize. Their ships moved through space in ways that should be impossible. They could be invisible and visible at the same time. They attacked us from directions that do not exist. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. The Aquilian Republic called an emergency session of their High Council. Chancellor Threxid, who had known humans for decades, could not believe what he was hearing. There must be some mistake, he insisted. Humans are peaceful. They are builders, not warriors. They would never attack without warning. But Ambassador Quillen, who had been in human space when the attacks began, told a different story. Chancellor, I saw it myself. The human ships moved like nothing I have ever seen. Their weapons were beyond our understanding. And their message was clear: leave or die. The most shocked of all were the Keth. War Marshal Vexilon sat in a military hospital, bandaged and broken. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Keith Imperium, had been destroyed by a single human ship. The shame was almost worse than his physical wounds. Emperor Kethavar himself came to visit the defeated warrior. Tell me exactly what happened, the Emperor commanded. Your Majesty, we were fighting ghosts, Vexilon said quietly. Their ship would appear, destroy several of our vessels, then vanish before we could respond. When we fired at where they had been, they were somewhere else entirely. It was like fighting the wind itself. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. The Keth had built their entire culture around military strength. They believed that power came from big fleets and powerful weapons, but humans had shown them that there were kinds of power they did not understand. On Earth, Dr. Shin Yon-su was working in her laboratory, reviewing the performance data from the battles. The quantum stealth systems had worked perfectly. The gravity weapons had exceeded expectations. The space-time manipulation drives had performed better than her most optimistic projections. Admiral Kim Tae-ho visited her to discuss the results. Doctor, the galaxy is reeling, but some of our intelligence suggests they might try to form a united response against us. Are we ready for that? Dr. Shin smiled and gestured to the screens around her laboratory. They showed weapon systems and defense platforms that had not been used in the battles. Admiral, what the galaxy saw yesterday was our gentle response. If they force us to defend ourselves seriously, they will discover that we have been very careful to appear weaker than we are. She pulled up a holographic display showing a device that looked like a simple metal sphere. This, for example, is a stellar disruption device. It can cause a star to go supernova. We have built 12 of them. Kim Tae-ho felt a chill run down his spine. He had known that Earth's hidden military capabilities were advanced, but he had not realized they were this advanced. Doctor, with weapons like that, we could conquer the entire galaxy. Yes, Dr. Shin said simply. That is exactly why we must be careful. Power like this can corrupt even good people. It is better to use our strength to protect ourselves than to rule others. President Choi Yuna entered the laboratory at that moment. She had been meeting with world leaders and military commanders all day, planning Earth's next moves. Dr. Admiral, we have received over 3,000 requests for communication from alien governments. They all want to negotiate. What kind of negotiations? Kim Tae-ho asked. Most want to apologize and ask for mercy. Some want to understand how we became so powerful. A few are offering to join us as allies against the rest of the galaxy. President Choi looked tired but determined. All of them now understand that we are not the weak species they thought we were. Dr. Shin pulled up another display, this one showing the current positions of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Madam President, our long-range sensors indicate that several species are moving military forces toward our borders. They may be planning a coordinated attack. President Choi nodded. I expected this. Fear makes some beings desperate, and desperate beings do foolish things. Are we prepared? More than prepared, Dr. Shin replied. But I recommend that we show them something that will make them reconsider before they do something that forces us to be less gentle. That evening, President Choi made another broadcast to the galaxy. This time her message was shorter but more frightening. Citizens of the galaxy, she began. Yesterday we demonstrated our ability to defend our borders. Some of you seem to believe that what you saw was the full extent of our capabilities. You are mistaken. Behind her, a holographic display showed a detailed map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of major alien military bases and fleet concentrations. We know where your fleets are. We know where your weapons are stored. We know where your leaders live. If you choose to attack us, we will not limit ourselves to defending our own space. She paused, letting her words sink in across thousands of worlds. We closed our borders because we want to be left alone, not because we are weak. If you force us to demonstrate our full strength, you will regret it. Choose wisely. The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. The humans had not only shown that they could fight, they had shown that they were watching everything and everyone. On the Keth homeworld, Emperor Kethvar looked at the display showing human knowledge of Keth military positions. Every secret base, every hidden fleet, every classified weapon project. The humans knew about all of it. How long have they been watching us? He asked his intelligence chief. Unknown, Your Majesty, but given the accuracy of their information, it could be decades. The Emperor felt something he had never felt before. Genuine fear. The Keth had thought they were the strongest military force in the galaxy. Now they realized they had been playing children's games while humans built real weapons. Similar realizations were happening across the galaxy. The Vraxians discovered that humans knew about their secret mining operations in forbidden systems. The Aquilians learned that their supposedly secure diplomatic communications had been monitored for years. The Zelthrons found out that humans had detailed maps of their homeworld's defenses. Ambassador Yang Boram, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, received an emergency summons to appear before the full assembly. When she arrived, she found herself facing hundreds of alien delegates, all of them looking frightened and angry. Council Speaker Vorthan, a elderly Aquilian, spoke first. Ambassador Yang, your species has committed acts of aggression against peaceful vessels in your space. This is a violation of galactic law. Yang Boram stood calmly at the speaker's podium. She looked out at the sea of alien faces, many of whom had spent years treating her and her species like children. Honorable Speaker, she replied, my government gave 72 hours notice for all alien vessels to leave our space. Those vessels chose to ignore our warning. They are responsible for the consequences of their choice. But the force used was excessive, protested the Vraxian representative. Mining ships are not military targets. Mining ships that were stealing from our territory without permission, Yang Boram replied smoothly. If I take things from your home without asking, am I a thief or a victim? The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted accusations and demands. Some called for economic sanctions against Earth. Others suggested military action. Yang Boram waited for the noise to die down, then spoke again. Her voice was quiet but carried clearly through the chamber. For 50 years we have asked you to respect our sovereignty. You ignored us. For 50 years we have complained about violations of our space. You dismissed us. For 50 years we have tried to be good members of this community. You treated us like servants. She looked directly at the speaker. We are no longer asking for your respect. We are demanding it. Earth's borders are closed. Any attempt to violate them will be met with force. Any attempt to attack us will result in consequences you cannot imagine. The chamber fell silent. In that silence, every alien delegate finally understood the truth. Humanity had not been weak for 50 years, they had been patient. Now their patience was over, and the galaxy was about to learn what humans were really capable of when they stopped being nice. The 72 hours were almost over. Across the galaxy, alien news stations had cameras pointed at Earth, waiting to see what would happen. Most expected nothing. Some expected angry human messages begging for understanding. A few expected desperate negotiations. Nobody expected what actually happened. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the command center of Luna Base, Earth's main military headquarters on the moon. Around him, dozens of officers watched screens showing every alien vessel in human space. There were hundreds of them. Mining ships, research vessels, patrol boats, and even a few warships. Status report, Kim Tae-ho said. Captain Kang Soo-jin was commanding the stealth frigate Shadow, hidden near the edge of the solar system. Sir, I count 347 alien vessels still in our space. None are showing any signs of leaving. Colonel Im Ji-hoon was monitoring the defense satellites that orbited each planet. All defensive platforms are ready, sir. The aliens still think they are looking at research stations and communication arrays. Kim Tae-ho nodded. The galaxy had no idea what humanity had really been building over the past 20 years. Every research station was actually a weapon platform. Every communication satellite was a defensive system. Every mining ship in the asteroid belt was actually a mobile fortress. President Choi Yuna appeared on the main screen from her office on Earth. Admiral, the deadline has passed. You have permission to begin. Understood, Madam President. Kim Tae-ho turned to his communications officer. Send the activation codes to all units. Operation Cleanhouse is now active. The first aliens to die never saw it coming. A Vraxian mining fleet was working near Pluto when space around them suddenly filled with weapons fire. But the weapons were not coming from any ships they could see. The attack was coming from empty space itself. Captain Nam Dong-wook of the reconnaissance vessel Swift Arrow was watching from a safe distance. He reported what he saw to Earth Command. The Vraxian ships are trying to find what is shooting at them, but their sensors show nothing, he said. Wait, now I can see something. There are human ships appearing out of nowhere. They were completely invisible until they started firing. Dr. Shin Yeon-su's stealth technology was working perfectly. Human ships could exist in a state that made them invisible to all known sensors. They could appear and disappear at will, like ghosts made of metal and death. The Vraxian fleet tried to fight back, but they were shooting at shadows. In less than 10 minutes, 23 mining ships were destroyed. No human vessel was even damaged. News of the attack spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. Military commanders who had been laughing at Earth's ultimatum suddenly became very serious. But many still thought it was just luck or some kind of trick. War Marshal Vexilon of the Keth Imperium was commanding a battle fleet near Jupiter. He had brought his ships there to show humans what real military power looked like. When he heard about the attack on the Vraxians, he just smiled. Humans got lucky with some mining ships, he told his officers. Let them try that against real warriors. His fleet had over 200 warships, including the massive dreadnought Keth Glory. It was the most powerful ship in the Keth military, with enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Admiral Kim Tae-ho had been waiting for Vexilon to make exactly this kind of mistake. The Keth were proud and aggressive. They would not run from a fight even when they should. Captain Ryu Sejun, Kim Tae-ho said into his communicator, "You are cleared to engage the Keth fleet near Jupiter." Captain Ryu was commanding the UES Retribution, one of Earth's newest warships. Like all human military vessels, it looked much smaller and weaker than it actually was. Understood, Admiral. Beginning attack run now. The Keth fleet detected the Retribution when it was still millions of kilometers away. Vexilon was amused that the humans were sending just one ship against his entire fleet. Target that vessel, he ordered. Destroy it quickly so we can proceed to Earth. But when the Keth ships fired their weapons, the Retribution was no longer where their sensors said it was. The human ship had somehow moved faster than light itself, appearing behind the Keth formation. The Retribution opened fire. Its weapons were unlike anything the Keth had ever seen. Instead of energy beams or missiles, it fired concentrated gravity waves that crushed ships like empty cans. In seconds, 5 Keth destroyers were reduced to compressed metal spheres. Vexilon ordered his fleet to surround the human ship, but the Retribution kept disappearing and reappearing in different locations. Each time it fired, more Keth ships died. The humans were not just faster and stronger than expected. They were using technology that seemed impossible. How are they doing this? Vexilon shouted at his science officer. I do not know, War Marshal. Their ships appear to be moving through folded space-time. Our computers cannot predict where they will appear next. Dr. Shin Yeon-su had spent years studying alien faster-than-light technology and making it better. Human ships could now move in ways that broke all known rules of physics. They could be in 2 places at once. They could attack from the past and the future simultaneously. The battle near Jupiter lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, the mighty Keth fleet was reduced to floating debris. Only Vexilon's flagship remained, and it was heavily damaged. Captain Ryu opened a communication channel to the Keth Glory. War Marshal, you have 30 seconds to abandon your ship before I destroy it. Vexilon was bleeding from a head wound, and his bridge was filled with smoke. Around him, his officers looked shocked and defeated. For the first time in his life, the proud Keth warrior felt fear. Who are you? He asked. What are you? We are humans, Captain Ryu replied simply. And you are in our space without permission. Vexilon and his surviving crew evacuated their ship. The Retribution destroyed the empty flagship with a single shot, then disappeared back into folded space. Across the galaxy, military leaders watched the recordings of the battle in stunned silence. The humans had destroyed the most powerful fleet in known space like it was nothing. Ships that had taken years to build were eliminated in minutes. But the humans were not done yet. All across the solar system, alien vessels were discovering that Earth's defenses were much more dangerous than they appeared. A Zelthran research station near Saturn tried to surrender when human ships appeared. But Admiral Kim Tae-ho had given clear orders. The 72-hour deadline had passed. Any alien vessel remaining in human space was considered hostile. The research station was destroyed without warning. So were the Aquilian trade ships near Mars, the Rothan diplomatic vessel near Venus, and the small Henkai exploration fleet near Mercury. One by one, every alien presence in the solar system was eliminated. Some ships tried to run, but human vessels were faster. Some tried to hide, but human sensors could find anything. Some tried to fight, but human weapons were too powerful. By the end of the day, human space was empty of all alien vessels. Those few aliens who survived did so only because they had been allowed to escape as witnesses. Captain Nam Dong-wook of the Swift Arrow sent his final report to Earth Command. All alien vessels have been destroyed or driven from our space, sir. Operation Clean House is complete. Admiral Kim Tae-ho felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. The galaxy had forced this confrontation, but he took no joy in the destruction. He would have preferred peace. Very good, Captain. Return to base. On the main screen, President Choi Yuna appeared again. Behind her, Dr. Shin Yun-soo was smiling quietly. Admiral, Phase 1 is complete, the President said. Now we wait to see how the galaxy responds to our demonstration. Kim Tae-ho nodded. The message was clear. Humans were no longer the weak, patient species that the galaxy thought they knew. Earth had shown its teeth, and those teeth were very sharp indeed. In the distance, the stars shone with the same light as always. But now they shone on a solar system that belonged completely and absolutely to humanity. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 months had passed since the destruction of Research Station Omega. President Choi Yuna stood in the Oval Office looking at herself in the mirror. Today was the day that would change everything. Behind her, technicians were setting up cameras and communication equipment. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood nearby in his best uniform. General Song Min-ho was also there, wearing the blue dress uniform of Earth's Orbital Defense Forces. They both looked serious and ready. Are you sure about this, Madam President? Kim Tae-ho asked quietly. Once we send this message, there will be no going back. President Choi smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Admiral, my grandfather used to tell me a story. He said that a man who is always polite will eventually be walked on by everyone. Sometimes you have to show your strength, or people will think you have none. Dr. Shin Yun-soo entered the room carrying a large briefcase. Inside were the special communication devices that would send the message to every corner of the galaxy at the same time. The technology was based on quantum entanglement, something that most alien species did not fully understand yet. The devices are ready, Madam President, Dr. Shin said. When you give the word, every major government, military base, and news station in the galaxy will receive our message within seconds. President Choi nodded. She had practiced this speech many times. The words were simple, but their meaning would shake the galaxy. Begin recording, she said. The red light on the camera turned on. President Choi looked directly into the lens. Her voice was calm and clear. Citizens of the galaxy, she began. I am President Choi Yuna of United Earth. I speak for all of humanity today. For 50 years, we have been members of the galactic community. We have followed the rules. We have respected the laws. We have tried to be good neighbors. She paused for a moment, letting her words sink in. But our patience has limits. 3 months ago, a Zelthran diplomatic vessel destroyed one of our research stations and killed 200 innocent people. The Galactic Council called it an accident and did nothing. This was not the first time. It will be the last. Behind her, Admiral Kim Tae-ho and General Song Min-ho stood at attention, their faces stone cold. Effective immediately, all alien vessels have 72 standard hours to leave Terran space. Terran space is defined as a sphere extending 50 light-years from our sun. Any vessel that remains after this deadline will be considered hostile and will be dealt with accordingly. President Choi stepped closer to the camera. Her voice became harder. Earth's borders are now closed. We will no longer tolerate violations of our sovereignty. We will no longer accept excuses for attacks on our people. We will no longer be treated as children by species who have forgotten how to show respect. She straightened up and folded her hands in front of her. To our friends in the galaxy who have always treated us fairly, we thank you for your friendship. You know who you are. To those who have taken advantage of our patience, you now know that our patience has ended. You have 72 hours. The camera stopped recording. Dr. Shin Yeon-soo immediately began uploading the message to the quantum communication network. Within minutes, it would be playing on every major world in the galaxy. On the Vraxian homeworld, Trade Federation Ambassador Groktar was in the middle of a business meeting when the message interrupted all broadcasts. He watched it with growing amusement. When it ended, he started laughing. "Did you see that?" he said to his colleagues. "The humans think they can threaten us. They think they can close their little solar system and we will care." Other Vraxians in the room began laughing too. Humans were useful for building things and doing hard work, but they were not warriors. They had no real military power. Their threats were meaningless. The reaction was similar across the galaxy. On the Keth homeworld, War Marshal Vexilon saw the message as an opportunity. The Keth were a warrior species who believed that strength was the only thing that mattered. If humans wanted to fight, the Keth would be happy to teach them their place. "Prepare the Third Fleet," Vexilon ordered his subordinates. "If the humans want to play at being strong, we will show them what real strength looks like." Even species that had been friendly with humans were concerned. The Aquilian Republic had traded with Earth for decades. Ambassador Quillen sent a message to President Choi asking her to reconsider. "This isolationist behavior is concerning," the message said. "Surely we can work together to solve whatever problems exist. Closing borders and making threats is not the way civilized species behave." President Choi read the message and deleted it without responding. On news stations across the galaxy, the story became entertainment. Betting pools opened up on how quickly humans would back down. Most aliens gave Earth less than a week before they would start begging for forgiveness. A famous Zelthran news host named Vorthiak made jokes about it during his evening show. "Humans are like children having a tantrum," he said. "When they calm down and realize they cannot survive without the rest of us, they will come back and apologize." But not everyone was laughing. On a few worlds, older and wiser beings remembered something important about humans. They remembered that humans had a history of being very dangerous when pushed too far. An old Aquilian historian named Elder Thexid sent a private message to his government. "I have studied human history," he wrote. "These beings do not make empty threats. When humans say they will fight, they fight. When they say they will close their borders, they mean it. We should take this seriously." His message was ignored. Back on Earth, Dr. Shin Yeon-soo was working late in her laboratory deep underground. Around her, teams of scientists and engineers were making final preparations. For 20 years, they had been building weapons and defenses in secret. The galaxy thought humans were primitive, but they were wrong. Humans had learned from every species they met. They had studied alien technology and made it better. They had developed new sciences that the galaxy did not even know existed. Most importantly, they had learned to keep their greatest achievements secret. Admiral Kim Tae-ho visited the lab to check on progress. He looked at the screens showing weapon systems that had no names in any alien language. He saw ships that could appear and disappear at will. He saw defenses that could stop any attack. "Will it be enough?" he asked Dr. Shin. She looked up from her work and smiled. "Admiral, the galaxy is about to learn that they have been watching sheep and thinking they were seeing the whole flock. They never saw the wolves. 60 hours remained until the deadline." In space around Earth, alien vessels continued their normal activities. Vraxian miners kept taking asteroids. Keth patrols kept flying through human space like they owned it. Zelthron diplomatic ships kept going wherever they wanted. None of them were leaving. None of them believed that humans would actually do anything. They had seen human patience for 50 years and they thought it would last forever. They were about to learn that even the most patient people have limits. And when those limits are reached, patience can turn into something much more dangerous. The countdown continued. Soon the galaxy would discover what humans were really capable of when they stopped being nice and started being honest. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and watched the stars. His ship was the newest and strongest that Earth had ever built. But right now he felt angry more than proud. Through the large window he could see another alien ship taking things that did not belong to them. The ship was from the Vraxian people. It was huge and ugly like a metal spider with too many legs. It was pulling rocks and metals from the space around Neptune. The Vraxians had been doing this for months. They never asked permission. They just took what they wanted. Commander Park Hana walked up to Kim Tae-ho. She held a datapad in her hands. Her face looked tired and frustrated. "Sir, this is the 847th time aliens have broken our rules this month," she said. "The Vraxians, the Keth, the Zelthrans, they all think they can do whatever they want in our space." Kim Tae-ho nodded. He had been keeping count too. Every day more alien ships came into human space. They set up mining stations. They built research labs. They treated the solar system like it was their playground. The worst part was that they acted like humans should be grateful. "What did the leaders on Earth say?" Kim Tae-ho asked. "The same thing they always say. We should be patient. We should try to work with them. They say we are still young compared to other species, so we should learn from them." Park Hana's voice was bitter. Kim Tae-ho understood her anger. Humans had been part of the galaxy community for 50 years now. In that time, they had proven themselves again and again. Human workers built the best machines. Human scientists made amazing discoveries. Human soldiers were brave and loyal. But the other species still treated them like children. The Galactic Council was the worst. It was supposed to be a group where all species were equal. But in reality, the older and stronger species made all the decisions. Humans got one vote out of hundreds. When they complained about violations of their space, the Council would say things like, "We will look into it," or, "These things take time." Kim Tae-ho's thoughts were interrupted by a loud beeping sound. The communications officer, Lieutenant Kang Min-ho, turned to face him. "Sir, we are getting an emergency signal from Research Station Omega near Pluto," Kang Min-ho said. His voice was shaking. "Put it through," Kim Tae-ho ordered. The main screen showed Dr. Lee Jun-woo. He was the head scientist at the station. His face was covered in blood and smoke was filling the room behind him. "This is Station Omega," Dr. Lee said, coughing. "We are under attack. A Zelthran diplomatic ship said they needed to dock for repairs. When we let them in, they started destroying everything. They killed my team. They said we were in their way. The signal cut out." Kim Tae-ho tried to contact the station again, but there was no answer. He ordered his ship to go to maximum speed toward Pluto. When they arrived 3 hours later, Research Station Omega was gone. All that was left were pieces of metal floating in space. 200 humans had died, including Dr. Lee Jun-woo. He had been one of Earth's best scientists. He had spent his whole life trying to build friendship between humans and aliens. The Zelthran ship was already gone. Kim Tae-ho knew they would claim it was an accident. They would say there was some kind of misunderstanding. The Galactic Council would accept their story. Commander Park Hana stood next to Kim Tae-ho as they looked at the debris. "How many more times?" she asked quietly. "How many more of our people have to die before we do something?" Kim Tae-ho did not answer. He was thinking about Dr. Lee Jun-woo. The man had believed that humans and aliens could be friends. He had worked day and night to study alien cultures and languages. He had always said that understanding would lead to peace. Now he was dead, killed by the very aliens he had tried to understand. 2 days later, Kim Tae-ho was on Earth. He sat in a meeting room with other military leaders and President Choi Yuna. The president looked calm, but Kim Tae-ho could see the anger in her eyes. "The Galactic Council has sent their response," President Choi said. She held up a datapad. "They called the destruction of Station Omega a regrettable accident. They offer to pay for the damage. They say the Zelthran captain will be given a warning." General Song Min-ho, who was in charge of Earth's space defenses, hit the table with his fist. "A warning! 200 people are dead and they get a warning. They also suggest that we should not put research stations in busy shipping lanes," President Choi continued. "They say it creates confusion for diplomatic vessels." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Admiral Kim Tae-ho spoke. "Madam President, with respect, this will never end. Every time we complain, they ignore us. Every time we ask for justice, they make excuses. They see us as weak." President Choi nodded slowly. "I have been thinking the same thing, Admiral. For 50 years, we have tried to be good members of the galactic community. We have been patient. We have been understanding. We have been peaceful." She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of Geneva. the capital of United Earth. Millions of humans lived their lives down there, working and dreaming and hoping for a better future. Dr. Shin Yeon-soo, our chief science advisor, has been telling me something for years, President Choi said. She says we are much stronger than we let the galaxy believe. She says we have been holding back. Dr. Shin Yeon-soo was sitting at the far end of the table. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She had been Earth's top scientist for 20 years. Madam President, we have technologies that the galaxy has never seen, Dr. Shin said. We have been careful to keep them secret. We wanted to be peaceful, but perhaps it is time to show our true strength. President Choi turned back to the group. I am going to call for a vote in the Earth Assembly. We will give the galaxy one last chance, one final warning. If they ignore it, then we will close our borders. Kim Tae-ho felt something change in the room. For the first time in years, he felt hope. Humans had tried being nice. Now it was time to try being strong. The meeting ended and Kim Tae-ho returned to his ship. As he looked out at the stars, he wondered what the galaxy would think when Earth finally showed its teeth. He smiled grimly. They were about to find out.